Hey, Vaughn here. Shout out Kyrie Irving. Shout out to all my people that still think the earth is flat. I heard if you go on a cruise, you might change your mind. But with that being said, today we are finna figure out why people think that the world is flat. This is by Jonny Harrison. Why did I say Harrison? It's Harris. Jonny Harris. Bro, I watched a lot of his videos just off cam, bro. And I just seen a bunch of his videos, and this one piqued my interest for real. I was like, yeah, I kind of want to react to this one though, because a flat Earth is like it's still like a topic that people, I still think it's flat, bro. Some people, don't even believe we went to space. So, okay, wait. To people who do think the Earth is flat, because if the Earth was flat, at some point we would just fall off, right? So, like, why? Or do they just think? I'm sorry.
If you were able to look through the perspective of a person who thinks the world is flat, you would see this. The North Pole is right here in the center. The continents splayed out over this.
Okay, I was about to ask. I was like, so, like, how is it possible for you to think that the Earth is flat when you can legit fly around the fucking planet? But this makes a lot more sense because you can fly around the planet this way. I ain't gonna cap. You flat earthers might be spitting, eh? Yeah, might be spitting. Bro. Okay, now this makes a lot more sense. Now, if the Earth look like, now this makes a lot more sense.
Plane. And here on the edges, you'd run into a 150-foot wall of ice, guarded by NASA employees with guns.
And how far that ice goes outwards. And when people try to go down there, they get turned away at gunpoint and put in prison.
The heavens are a dome that arcs over the flat Earth. The sun, the moon, the stars, they're all just little balls of light in the sky that move around just above the Earth's surface.
There are loads of people who actually believe this. YouTube channels and Facebook pages, you'll see hundreds of thousands of followers. Google searches for the term flat earth proof over time look like this. It's become incredibly popular. And recently a poll showed that only 84% of Americans agree with the statement, "I have always believed the world is round." 84%. And if you're 18 to 24, that's more like 66%, which is like dangerously close to half. What is going on here?
Now the North Pole is the center of a deep ocean, whereas the South Pole...
Why they actually talk like that back then? And they all sound like JFK. Like, listen.
Now the North Pole...
Now the North Pole is connected to the South Pole. But how did the North Pole become the North? I don't fucking know.
Is the center of a deep ocean, whereas the South Pole is the center of a high plateau in altitude.
This is frustrating, and what's even more frustrating is every time I try to look into this and understand it, all I see is coverage of like flat earther conventions and like interviews with these people.
We absolutely know for a fact this ain't it.
These interviews are interesting, but these people.
We absolutely know for a fact this ain't it.
This ain't it, G.
These interviews are interesting, but I want to understand like how someone with a thinking brain can actually get behind this.
See, look, I'm not gonna pause too much. See, this is where you give them too much credit. You think they have a thinking brain. They do not.
Is this actual belief? Where does it...
I work in sales. I know some people are just dead retarded. Like, I know that people don't like that word, retarded, bro. Some people are just dead retarded, bro. Like, it is amazing how helpless some people are. And if you ever worked in sales, you know that. Like, some people are just dead helpless. It is crazy.
Come from, and how do potentially millions of people believe that the Earth is flat?
The water is completely flat, for as far as we can see and as far as we've measured, and the horizon is completely flat.
I'm in Mexico now. I've been sitting on the beach reading everything there is to read about the history of people who believe the Earth is flat. And there's one thing that I just had to try for myself.
This is a simple experiment that anybody can conduct to determine definitely that the Earth is flat. Grab a spirit level and take it on the plane with you.
117. Found this hardware store.
Ibig
Bought myself.
Yeah, ibig español.
Is flat. Grab a spirit level and take it on the plane with you.
117. Found this hardware store. Bought myself a level. Gracias, amigo.
One of the stranger things you've ever done.
And I'm bringing it with me on the airplane. I'm gonna do some of this empirical science myself.
If you are to fly on a non-rotating Earth,
I thought that was
please
Dr. Omar.
explain what kind of experience will a pilot really have.
The logic goes that if the Earth is round and I'm flying thousands of miles, which I'm about to do, then the airplane will have to be tipped a little bit the whole time in order to make it around the curvature of the Earth.
The plane should be constantly dipping its nose forward in order to compensate for the curvature.
Show me some planes doing this.
I would be able to see the tilt of the airplane if I put my newly purchased level on the tray table in front of me.
I'm going to take my spirit level onto the plane.
If my tool shows me that the plane is totally level,
That's proof that the Earth is flat.
let's go see what happens. Can somebody explain to me duty-free? Why perfume? Why is there so much perfume in duty-free? On an airplane, and I'm back. My little level experiment worked wonderfully. The bubble stayed nice and center. Turns out the plane was not dipping its nose in order to make it around the Earth. This is explained by the basics of gravity and physics. This video is not a debunk of flat Earth theory. That doesn't need to happen. That should.
Man, that happened to my quality, boys.
Shouldn't need to happen. What this is my fascination with the fact that there is lots of people, let's put it this way, a non-zero number of humans who think the world is flat, and they work really hard to prove it. I want to understand what sorts of tools are being used to prove the world is flat. So here we go. I wonder if I can get some really dramatic
beating his ass.
conspiracy theory lighting going on here. I'm seeing all the evidence. What if the Earth actually is flat? The plane wasn't dipping. The level was flat. Okay, I'm kidding. Let's get into this. I've been in the weeds learning about the flat Earth experience, what people believe and why and where it all came from. And here's what I've learned. Number one, flat earthers have become a thing just in the past couple hundred years. So by like 205 BC, you've got these really smart Greek people making experiments that are like absurd.
Yo, like, oh my God, I would just love to see how people like, how do we make some of this? Like from way back then? And then it's like, I truly just want to know what they were actually like way back then. Because like 100 years ago was 1925. We don't know what the fuck they were doing back then. We have an idea. We have a couple pictures. That's it. You know, you got, only thing you got is like you kind of your grandparents, your great parents to kind of listen to about how it was back then. But like, man, it's just crazy to even go back even further to see how they be making stuff. And like, bro, the human brain is crazy for us to like think about how to make this stuff. Just first off, think about it in general, and then find a way to make it. Like, what?
Observing a globe-shaped Earth. Over the next several centuries, eventually this would just become the widespread thing among anyone who was doing experimentation on the world. And eventually, nobody believed the Earth was flat. Even in like the medieval times, like it was a consensus that the Earth was a globe.
So you're talking about
in
people
short,
back then was
flat
smarter?
earthers weren't
That's
a
facts.
thing during this time. Even though literally in elementary school, I was taught that Christopher Columbus and like his voyage was somehow to prove that the Earth was round or maybe it was flat, and that there was like some debate around that. That's actually a total legend, and I have no idea why I was taught that in elementary school.
Yeah,
I actually am genuinely curious. Like, how did that happen? The fact is, Christopher Columbus,
I
the
learned the
Catholic
same
Church,
thing.
the Spanish patrons, no one thought the Earth was flat. But then, they became a thing. Any sort of flat earther movement didn't actually come around, ironically, until science was really starting to heat up. During the mid-1800s, a huge amount of scientific breakthrough was happening. The scientific method was taking off, and huge breakthroughs in biology, physics, anatomy, and mathematics were taking place. But at the time, there were also people who were becoming uncomfortable with how advanced scientific methods were getting. These guys were like, hold on a second, you have all these fancy new tools to inquire into the world and to understand reality, but these tools are getting like too sophisticated and too abstract and theoretical. They're becoming too disconnected from like what I can see and understand and touch and feel. They wanted to bring science back to what it had been for a really long time, which is that like a person goes out, uses simple tools like a telescope to look at the world and to make conclusions about how the world works. So it's the 1800s, science is like having its time, and you have these guys, usually from like the US and the UK, who want to throw out this growing body
bro,
of
what do you
like,
say? You know what's fucking crazy?
amazing advancements in science, and they start to do experiments. Here's what those experiments look like. So it's the summer of 1838, England, up in the county of Cambridgeshire, which literally sounds like a place in The Lord of the Rings. So it's the summer of 1838, and the atom had just been discovered, and the Doppler effect is like being fleshed out. And then you've got this guy. His name is Samuel Rowbotham, but he goes by the pseudonym Parallax, which is actually a pretty dope name. Like if I were a DJ, I would totally go with like Parallax. Anyway, Parallax decides, even though all this science is happening, he thinks it's time to reopen up the debate about whether or not the Earth is a globe, which was like literally settled thousands of years earlier. But he's like, no, let's do it. And he finds this canal system that is incredibly straight. This canal goes on for almost 10 kilometers, like 6 miles of just a straight line. This guy says, if the Earth is a globe, and people say it's 25,000 miles in circumference, then if I look at a straight line, after the first mile, the curvature of the Earth would mean that the canal would now be 8 inches lower. After 2 miles, it would be 32 inches lower. After 3 miles, 72 inches lower, meaning like 6 feet, almost 2 meters, and so on. So he thinks eventually the dip from the curvature of the Earth would be so great that you could easily observe it. So he gets in the water, he puts a telescope right above the surface of the water, and then puts a boat on the canal with a 1 meter tall post on it. So what he wants to see is if the Earth is curved, if it's a globe, this post will start to disappear over the horizon. So he does it. The boat goes away, it goes the entire 6 miles of the canal, and it stays in sight the entire time. It doesn't dip over the horizon. And he's stoked. He's like, man, I just proved that the Earth is flat. And I did it with a telescope and a boat. Like, screw you, science. Like, I'm making breakthroughs right here in Cambridgeshire. And then he writes this book, where he fleshes out this experiment and several others that he does. But wait, this experiment's like kind of legit, right? Like, it adds up. Like, his numbers were all correct about the circumference and the dip of the curvature. Like, why didn't it dip? Like, why was the boat still in sight? There's nothing wrong with this experiment. Parallax got that great name. Maybe he was onto something. No, this is stupid. This is like a 3rd grade science experiment in your backyard. This experiment doesn't take into account how the natural world actually works and how light behaves.
You know what made me, like, I never was like a flat earther, but you know what made me like believe that the Earth was round? Because like I was watching this one dude video, he was talking about being in the army. He's called the Reaper, you know, one of the best snipers, blah, blah, blah. And he talks about, like, you got a sniper, you got a spotter. And a spotter, you know, kind of tells you how to, you know, do your scope and the wind. And but he was like, you got to calculate the wind and this and that. But he was also like, you got to calculate the Earth's, like, spin. And I was like, what? He's like, you got to calculate the Earth's, like, rotation. It was like, it was some crazy shit. And I was like, they have to calculate the Earth's spin? Like, how can the Earth be flat? Like he was like legit, like, you must calculate how the Earth is to, like, also shoot a shot. I was like, yo. It's like from a far distance. You know what I mean? I don't think you need to do all the calculations if somebody's 5 feet from you, bro.
Behaves and refracts based on the different air densities. This is like stuff that people already figured out, and like Parallax is sitting there getting wet in a canal, like trying to observe this on his. No, this does not prove anything. But Parallax didn't want to hear any of this. He didn't want to talk about atmospheric refraction and air density and how light behaves in different media. Too complicated, too abstract. You can't touch and feel that stuff. Instead, Parallax sees science and observing reality as a much simpler task. In his book, he says, nature speaks to us in a peculiar language, in the language of phenomena. She answers at all times the questions which are put to her. Just like go out and like put a question to Mother Nature and she'll answer it. As scientific methods become more sophisticated, they become harder for you and me to understand. Parallax and his canal experiments are a reaction to all of this. They are a call for a simplification of scientific methods and a return of the senses as the primary force for understanding reality. He called his method of reductionist pseudoscience the zetetic method. He says that honesty of thought is to look at truth in the face, not the side face, but the full front. Just look at it, go out and observe it for yourself. He was among several scientists and mathematicians at the time who were on this train of let's use really simplified reductionist math and science to prove that the Earth is actually flat. This argument of the flat Earth flickered for a little bit in the 1800s, gained a little bit of traction, but then eventually it died out until just a few years ago.
I refuse to be another vegetable. Pseudoscience garbage will to me be unacceptable. Anyone with eyes to see don't have.
Is he fucking rapping to me about this shit? And why is he looking so dead ass? Like
to be susceptible, dispose of your globe in the nearest waste receptacle.
There is no curvature to this Earth. There is no motion to this Earth.
If you just accept the globe model with no understanding of the flat and no clear evidence for the ball Earth.
Why are they making music to this shit? What the
under curvature to this Earth, there is no motion to this Earth.
If you just accept the globe model with no understanding of the flat and no clear evidence for the ball Earth, do you see the problem there?
I'm gonna have a fucking, I always got a green screen behind me, but I'm gonna have a fucking, flat Earth poster back here one day. This is it.
Flat Earthers are back. And their methods are very similar to what Parallax was doing in the 1800s.
And this is data. This is repeatable, observable, measurable.
If you take the time to learn, you will change your mind. There's no doubt. The only reason people think they live on a spinning ball is willful ignorance.
They're still zooming into horizons, but now they have hordes of visual stuff to play around with. They now have airplanes. They now have satellite imagery to play around with. They now have the moon landing to dissect. And now they're taking levels onto airplanes, like I did.
Your plane can't go upside down. Here's the thing, globe hugger.
He called me a globe hugger. What the fuck? You know what's crazy? Did he do a video on people not believing in the moon landing? Yo, Jonny Harris, did you do a video based on people not believing in the moon landing? Why people think the moon landing was fake? Fuck yeah, I'm watching this shit.
Like the flat earthers in the 1800s, the flat earthers today want to use their own intuition and senses to understand reality. And in the process, they reject and ignore the huge body of science that we all live with today.
So people that have physics degrees, astronomy degrees, they got their degree by regurgitating what their teacher or the books.
Well, everybody I've
Instead
seen
of
that believes in this flat earth shit looks
and
insane.
telescopes and canals, the flat earthers today use videos and photos circulated on the internet.
The azimuthal equidistant projection map that the USGS actually uses is the flat Earth map.
Wait, did he just say azimuthal equidistant projection? That's like
Man, I'm about to give me a mustache
Is that
and
the flat
goatee.
Earth
Fuck
map?
this beer shit. That you something you
Don't put me in
stabbed me when you
projections.
ain't got a
I take them
haircut.
very
My
seriously.
bad.
In true internet fashion,
Yo,
this
I want
new
one of those
current
blow up,
movement of flat earthers has become just a bunch of bumper sticker type assertions and images that are really easy to share. Just like Parallax's experiments, these methodologies completely ignore the way the natural world is observed to work by like thousands of years of scientific consensus.
Yeah, he
But if
got
you
on
go
North
to the
Face. I didn't even
FAQ
realize
page of
that,
the
bro.
Flat
Just
Earth
flexed on
Society,
me.
you'll see what
I just got a regular puffer. Did my shit. Buffer.
they're after here. They believe that evidence is, quote, relying on your own senses to discern the true nature of the world around us. That's the best evidence. And in that vein, that's what these people are doing.
Can you stop buffering, bro? God damn.
I mean, so in the physics world today, do they not understand that convex lenses or fisheye lenses or GoPro add a distorted view?
So, what have I learned from all of this? From my understanding, the flat earther movement, whether from the 1800s or today on the internet, is actually not totally about the shape of the earth. This movement has a much broader message built into it. There's a reason why 1984 is like in the canon of the flat earther movement. 1984 has nothing to do with the shape of the earth. What it does have to do with is being skeptical of big institutions that are probably watching you, that are probably controlling your life, that are probably feeding you bad information to retain power.
We're not crazy, we're just sick of the lies.
Here's the thing. Most of the knowledge we have about the natural world
I didn't call you
the
crazy.
universe,
I called you retarded.
we've never seen. We've never seen exoplanets or the deep space telescopes that tell us so much about our universe. Instead, we read about this stuff. We benefit from its findings. We pay our taxes to fund more of it. Science is like a tall tower, and each individual researcher and institution adds a little brick to that tower, each brick resting on the one below it. No one person sees or understands all of the bricks. Instead, we have a system of debate, review, scrutiny that only allows the most accurate information to be added to the tower. And honestly, I don't think humans are well suited to adapt to this very impersonal way of understanding the world. We have evolved over millions of years with our senses as our main driver of survival. And now we live in a society that is run by big systems and impersonal institutions that we will never touch and feel, much less understand. And that's why we have people who believe the world is flat, despite conclusive evidence to the contrary. This belief is a proxy for a much larger paradigm that mistrusts anything that you can't touch and feel. And so yeah, I'm really sad that only 84% of people can say with certainty that they've always believed the world is a globe. And that's 64% for younger people. Only 64% of people. Like that just blows my mind, and it's incredibly sad. But despite this belief, this movement, these conventions, this total lunacy, science will continue to do its thing. It will continue to go out, observe the world with these amazing tools that we have, come back, debate it, and add to this tower of knowledge that helps us see the world as it really is. I want to thank Skillshare for sponsoring.
Thank you for the information. Shout out Jonny Harris. Got your name right. Yeah, I mess with his vids a lot, bro. Yeah, I never was a flat earther. Don't know how you could even think about the earth being flat. Or maybe I'm just too brainwashed to even form my own opinion, as they might say. But regardless, I feel like the evidence is too in your face to believe that the earth is flat. So with that being said, I will see you on the next one. Peace.